Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Kuriboh deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Izzy. And this deck is an amazing deck that plays the very first hand trap ever created in Yu-Gi-Oh! Kuriboh. I also have some extremely spicy tech cards in this build for you guys, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Kuriboh. Kuriboh is a definite 3-of in this deck that just basically helps you get to all of your plays. It's also super nostalgic and just a really good card in this build. It works with cards like Multiply and 5-Star Twilight, which is the big power plays of this deck. We then play 2 copies of Kuriboh. Kuriboh is a really awesome 2-of that actually helps us get to our copy of Babylon, which is one of our boss monsters for this deck. But it has a really good effect that all of your Kuriboh brothers actually share. This card is always treated as a Kuriboh card, which is a great effect for your Kuriboh brothers to have. But this card has the ability that when this card or another Kuriboh monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special summon one monster with 300 attack and 200 defense from your deck, except another copy of this card. But you only use the effect of this card once per turn, but you can also tribute this card that you control and one each of the Kuriboh brothers to be able to special summon out a Babylon from your hand, deck, or graveyard, which is a great effect for you to be able to do because it gets out an insanely powerful boss monster. We then play 2 copies of Kuriboh. Kuriboh is a really awesome 2-of for this deck as well because this card is a really good searcher, because when this card or another Kuriboh monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can add a spell or trap from your deck to your hand that lists the card Kuriboh in its text, which helps you get to your cards like Multiply and 5-Star Twilight. We then play 2 copies of Kuriboh. Kuriboh is just a really good 2-of in this build. You only really need 2 copies of each of the Kuriboh brothers, but this card has the ability that quick effect, you can discard this card and target a Kuriboh monster that you control, and it gains 1500 attack, which is a great effect to be able to just get one of your monsters a little bit bigger. We then play 2 copies of Kuriboh. Kuriboh is just in here because this card is one of the Kuriboh brothers that you have to use to be able to get out your copy of Babylon. But it does have the ability that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can discard this card to add a Kuriboh monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is a great effect to be able to get any of the Kuriboh brothers that you need. We then play 2 copies of Babylon. Babylon is an insanely powerful boss monster and a really good 2-of in the deck, but we only play 2 copies of this card because it's so easy to get on the field. It has the ability that gains 300 attack and defense for each Kuriboh monster that you control and in your graveyard. And you only use the following effects this card once per turn, that if you have more monsters in your graveyard than your opponent, then you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect to be able to just instantly get this card on the field. And during your main phase or battle phase, you can return this card back to your hand, and if you do, you get to special summon all 5 of the Kuriboh brothers from your hand or graveyard in attack position, which just gets you a bunch of monsters on your side of the field, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Kuriboh. This card is just a really good 1-of the deck. I have considered bumping this card up to 2 in the deck, but I really like this card as a 1-of just to be able to get your Kuribohs back on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Astral Kuriboh. Astral Kuriboh is really helpful in this particular deck because it helps you get a level 5 monster on your side of the field, because it has the ability that you can reveal a number XZ monster in your extra deck to special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, this card's level becomes the revealed monster's rank. So for example, if I reveal a copy of Volcasaurus, which we play in the extra deck, which is a rank 5 number monster, I can special summon this card to my side of the field as a rank 5 or level 5 monster, which is really cool to be able to do because then you can use 5-Star Twilight to tribute this card to be able to use 5-Star Twilight, which is really good. The only downside to this card is while this card is on the field, you can't special summon anything from the extra deck except number monsters, which is totally fine because we have some really good options in the extra deck. We then play 3 copies of Skilled Brown Magician. Skilled Brown Magician is a great normal summon in the deck because it has the ability each time a spell card is activated, you place a spell counter on this card. And when that spell resolves, you have a maximum of 3 spell counters that you can put on this card. But you can remove a spell counter from this card to activate one of the effects to either increase this card's attack by 1500 permanently and increase this level by 1, which will make you a level 5 monster to use with 5-star Twilight, or add a Kuriboh monster or multiply from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This card helps you get to all of your power plays, and it's just a really good 3-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Red-Haired Hasty Horse. This card is just a level 5 monster that we can special summon to our side of the field to use with 5-star Twilight, as long as there's no cards in the entire column that you're special summoning this card into, which is a great effect just to get you a monster on the field. We then play 2 copies of Dystopia, the Despondent. This card is insanely good, and this is a really insane boss monster. It's super fun to be able to play and really easy to summon in the deck. I just played 2 copies of it because it's easy to draw into this card, but it has the ability, it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by sending 4 face-up level 1 monsters that you control to the graveyard, and it cannot be special summoned by other ways, and other monsters you control cannot attack. And during either player's battle step, once per battle involving this card, you can banish a level 1 monster from your graveyard, and until the end of the damage step, this card is unaffected by other card effects and it can't be destroyed by battle. Basically turning this card completely immune to everything during that battle, which is really cool. I love this card in the deck, and it's a really awesome tech card in this build. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is just really good in the deck to be able to get your monsters out of the graveyard and be able to use with your copy of Skilled Brown Magician to activate this card to give it a spell counter. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is just really good in this particular build to get you a copy of Millennium Ice Restrict on your side of the field to use basically as a Called by the Grave to block hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good basically in this deck to stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play 3 copies of the Flute of Summoning Kuriboh. This card is really insane for the deck, and it has the ability that you take a Kuriboh or a Wing Kuriboh from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it to your side of the field, which is really good because it's basically emergency teleport for your copy of Kuriboh, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Multiply. Multiply is insanely powerful and a definite 3-of in this deck. You tribute a Kuriboh to special summon as many Kuriboh tokens to your side of the field as possible in defense position, but they cannot be tributed for tribute summon, but that's totally fine because we can actually use them for link summoning, which is really insane. We then play 3 copies of 5-star Twilight. 5-star Twilight is really good because if the only monster that you control is one level 5 monster, you can tribute that monster and then special summon all 5 of the Kuriboh brothers from your hand, deck, or graveyard. But they cannot be tributed for a tribute summon, and you can only activate 1 of this card per turn. But it's a really good effect to be able to get a bunch of monsters on your side of the field to be able to summon out your copy of Dystopia the Despondent, or be able to link summon into some really powerful cards. Even summoning out your copy of Kuriboh Babylon with this card is really good because you can use your copy of your Kuriboh brothers to summon it out. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. We play a bunch of dark monsters in this deck, and this card just helps us dig into the deck to get to our power plays that we need so that we can go in for game. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to be playing a single copy of Link Kuriboh. Link Kuriboh is just really good in this particular deck to be able to make on your side of the field to protect you from attacks. It also is really easy to put on your side of the field because if this card's in the graveyard, quick effect, you can tribute a level 1 monster to be able to special summon this card back to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Avermax. Avermax is just an insanely powerful boss monster we can put on the field extremely easily with cards like IP Masquerada, especially since it's really easy to put a bunch of monsters special from the extra deck onto your side of the field. Well, basically, when we make this card, you're going to put a copy of IP Masquerada, Link Kuriboh, and a Link Spider into this card. When you activate Multiply, you can make all of those cards extremely easily and then make a copy of Avermax, which is really awesome about this deck. This card is a really hard card for your opponent to deal with and a definite 1-of in this build. We then play a single copy of Access Code because you can pop multiple cards on the field with this card, and this card is just really good overall in the deck. Play a single copy of Appaloosa. Appaloosa can really easily get 4 materials in this deck, because we can use cards like Kuriboh to put all of our monsters back on our side of the field that are the Kuriboh brothers, and then make this card with 4 negates. We then play a single copy of Scareclaw Tryhard. This card is a absolutely insane tech card for this build and super easy to put on the field. It has the ability, it takes 3 effect monsters to be able to make this card, and it must be link summoned, and all face-up monsters on the field are changed to defense position. And it's unaffected by the activated effects of defense position monsters, which is really cool about this card, because it's going to shift all of your opponent's monsters into defense position that are not link monsters, and it shifts all of our monsters that have like 300 attack points to defense position, which gives us a lot of protection in this deck. This card is a really awesome card in this particular build because it's basically a link version of Baguska with 3,000 attack points. And since we're basically link summoning into all of our boss monsters, this card is really good in this build. We then play a single copy of Unicorn Dispensa. This card is just really good overall in this particular deck. 1 copy of Phoenix to pop spells and traps. And finally a single copy of Cerberus to pop monsters for the Nightmare package. We then play a single copy of the Dark Charmer. This card is really good to be able to bring dark monsters back from the opponent's graveyard to help us link climb into some really powerful cards. Play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is really good to be able to make Unicorn during the opponent's turn, or make a copy of Avermax. We then play a single copy of Link Spider. This card is for your copy of Multiply, because you're going to put tokens on your side of the field so you can link them away for this card. We then play a single copy of Relinquished Anima. This card is really good to be able to put in the extra monster zone and gobble up a monster that this card points to on your opponent's side of the field. We then play a single copy of 83 Galaxy Queen. This card is to reveal for your copy of Astral Kuriboh, and it's also pretty good to be able to put on the field, because once per turn you can detach an XZ material from this card, and until the opponent's next end phase, the monsters that you currently control cannot be destroyed by battle, and if they attack a defensive monster, you inflict piercing damage to your opponent, which is really good, especially since you have cards like Dystopia the Despondent with 5,000 attack points. We then play a single copy of number 61, Volcasaurus. Volcasaurus is just in here to be able to reveal for your copy of Astral Kuriboh. We then play a single copy of Millennium Eyes Restrict. Millennium Eyes Restrict is basically like an additional copy of Called by the Grave in this particular build, which is really good to be able to stop hand traps. So let's get into the tokens that we're playing. So for the tokens, we are playing the 5 Kuriboh tokens. You got to make sure that when you're playing a Kuriboh deck, you do have tokens. It's very, very important to be able to have tokens for your copies of Multiply. And I just have the token Kuribohs, which is just really, really cool. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Kuriboh deck before, I highly recommend it, because it's just a really fun deck overall to be able to play, because you can summon out all sorts of insanely powerful boss monsters, and Dystopia the Despondent is just really cool in this deck to be able to summon, because it's so easy to put on your side of the field. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.